What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing what to expect with iOS 26. Yes, I know last video I called it iOS 19, but according to Mark Gurman, that is not going to be the case. And this change is not going to be exclusive towards iOS. Apple is expected to be doing this on their other operating systems, so macOS 26, watchOS 26, tvOS 26, visionOS 26. You get the idea. So instead of all the numbers being out of sync, with iOS 19, macOS 16, watchOS 12, I think we're at. So according to Mark Gurman, it is rumored that Apple will be discontinuing the current, numbering scheme that they already do. And they're going to start going by the following year. So it's 2025. This year, it's going to be iOS 26. Then next year, iOS 27, 28, etc., etc. That's going to be the new naming method that they're going to be doing. So in this video, we're going to be calling it iOS 26, and we will also touch up a little bit on the other operating systems, so macOS 26. And also, before we begin, I know, please forgive me for this epic delay that I had in terms of uploading videos and why I haven't been active. TLDR, I was too busy IRL, working on other projects. And the fact that for most of the month, I was out of town at an undisclosed location, and that's pretty much all I can tell you, but I'm back with my equipment, I'm back to recording videos, and hopefully this summer, I'm gonna go full force in uploading a bunch of other content for y'all to see, including videos that I've previously recorded but never bothered uploading, so those are still on the hard drive. I just have to upload each and every single one of those videos. Yes, I know they're going to be late by at least 2 or 3 months. But again, at least it's better than having, completely nothing being uploaded on the channel. At least y'all are gonna get something. Anyways, just needed to let y'all know where I've been this past month. All what's really important is that I am finally back. So anyways, let's get right into what we're talking about, iOS 26. So tomorrow, as of recording, is going to be WWDC 2025, Apple's annual Worldwide Developers Conference. The day Apple gets to announce their new software and occasionally new hardware, if applicable. I don't know when this video is going to be uploaded. It's definitely going to be uploaded before the keynote, that's for sure. So it's either today or tomorrow. Apple will be holding this keynote at 10 a.m. Pacific, which I'm in the Eastern time zone, so that is 1 p.m. in my neck of the woods. And despite being mostly software only, we should be expecting a lot in this presentation. I've been following all of the rumors about Apple's new software, what we might be expecting out of it, and what we should see later on once the official announcement is here. I made a video discussing iOS 26 and what it will look like. I showed off a concept that John Prosser showed off, which gives you sort of like an idea of what we might be expecting design-wise. It was short, sweet, not really, too in-depth. I, did what I could there. But the big thing that we should be expecting in iOS 26 is the fact that it's getting a major redesign. And by major redesign, I mean literally fucking everything. We're talking a new UI, new keyboards, new animations, new icons, kinda, sorta. Again, we don't know if those icons are circular or they could be, a squircle shape. And if you don't know what a squircle is, here's that shape for you. It's sort of like a hybrid between a square and a circle. It's literally in the name. It's a portmanteau between square and circle. Squircle. So we might be either getting that or we could be getting round circle icons, which is what I would prefer. But this is going to be one of the biggest redesigns that we have ever seen since iOS 7. Now, if you've watched my previous video, this was, of course, one of my, if not my top #1 thing for iOS 26, or for iOS in general, since as far back as iOS 10. And that being just to redesign the operating system from the ground up. Because one of the big complaints that I've had with iOS is how it looks. It's the same design that we've had for almost an entirety of a decade. The fact that iOS 7 was the last time we saw a redesign like this, at least this big, and the fact that it looks stale in comparison, goes to show you how due we are for a major design overhaul. And we will be getting that, thankfully, in iOS 26. Now, the icons, or rather the shape of the icons, are going to be changing. Again, it's still up in the air whether or not those icons are going to be circle or they're going to be squircle shaped. But the icons, regardless of how they look, is not going to be the only major changes to iOS 26. You know, when people think of redesign, they think of, oh, shiny new icons, when that's not necessarily the case. In fact, changing how the icons look is only the tip of the iceberg, but the whole entire operating system is going to be redesigned. iOS in its entirety will be completely different compared to what we currently have with iOS 18. So it's not just the icons getting redesigned, everything is getting redesigned. So how this new design is going to look, it's basically going to be sort of like, you know, if you guys actually have an Apple Vision Pro, which I highly doubt some of you guys have, knowing the price of that fucking thing, but still, you already know what I'm talking about here, so bear with me. So the Vision Pro has visionOS, and when you look at visionOS, you see that it's more translucent, transparent, it's very almost depth-like. Many people, including Mark Gurman himself, have been calling it the Glassy design or the Glassy interface, which is basically what it's being described as. It's the glassy look, the glassy interface, the glassy design, and that's due to the heavy transparency that will be coming in this new design that is iOS 26, the same design that is inspired by visionOS. So what's that mean? So, you know, there's going to be a lot more transparency, you know, a lot of light reflections, lighting effects, shimmering, shininess, frosty, I would even call it. That's what we should be expecting, and of course, there has been hundreds of concepts of what it might look like. Like again, in my previous video, I demoed John Prosser's concept of this glassy design, Front Page Tech being one of the more reliable ones since they get their sources from insiders. Now, despite the accuracy of Front Page Tech, it's not going to be like 100% this is actually how it's going to look like. Again, this is only a concept, but it gives you the idea based on the rumors that we saw with this new design. And I pointed out that I don't think there's going to be that many people who are going to be that big of a fan of it. I know for a fact that there's going to be a lot of fucking people who are going to come out and completely bash this new design. But me personally, you know, from looking at all these concepts, I like it. I mean, it's a little bit too, like, you know, glossy for me, but I still like it. Like, I'm a fan of this overhaul that we will be getting in the design. I mean, it's clean, it's pure, it's something completely brand new, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it will look in the final release. Because, as you might know, the real deal always ends up looking better than the mock-ups and the concepts that we've been seeing before the actual software, or in some cases hardware, is officially announced and released. And pretty much all the apps are going to be getting this redesign. One of the concepts that I showed you was the redesigned camera app, which moves everything and all settings right down below to like this translucent bar right on the bottom. And when you tap on that bar, it expands and you can switch between photo and video. And you can swipe between the pages and you can select which mode you want to shoot in. You want to shoot a panorama photo, or you might want to do portrait mode. You might want to shoot a long exposure photo. Maybe record a slow motion video, do action mode, spatial video. The possibilities are endless. Effectively, it moves everything all right down into the bottom, so a lot more convenient. You don't have to keep swiping the screen just to switch modes, which is a lot more intuitive. And you can also select specific resolutions, you can select specific aspect ratios. You don't have to go over into the settings app, and you don't have to tap that little thing on the upper right-hand corner. In my opinion, not only it's just a really cool redesign all around, I love the new camera bar, but it also makes things so much easier as someone who does professional photography and professional videography, hence the lack of uploads. That's what I've been up to. So every single app is going to be getting redesigned, not just the camera app. The Messages app is expected to get a redesign. The App Store app is expected to get a redesign, which also hasn't seen a redesign since iOS 11, which is 2017. And even the Settings app will be getting redesigned as well. So every single default app will be redesigned. And this is not going to be just an iOS 26 exclusive little thing. This redesign is expected to be all Apple operating systems. So you're going to be seeing this exact same redesign on macOS 26. You're going to be seeing this redesign on watchOS 26. You're going to be seeing this redesign on tvOS 26. visionOS is going to be the only one not getting a redesign because, again, it already has this glassy design. Now, with macOS 26, it is going to reflect, no pun intended, of this glassy redesign based off of its name, which is rumored to be Tahoe, named after Lake Tahoe, because of its glossy reflections, I assume, which is right on the California-Nevada border, close to Carson City. Now, rumor-wise, besides the new design, we really haven't heard too much about macOS Tahoe, other than the fact that it's going to be completely dropping support on all Intel Macs, which means that only Apple Silicon Macs will support macOS Tahoe. So if you have an Intel-based Mac, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're kind of out of luck, at least according to rumors, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But, I've heard a few rumors saying that Apple Silicon Macs will be the only ones supporting it. Intel-based Macs will be going away in this update. Speaking of which, we can also get into what devices will be supported for iOS 26. Every device, except for the iPhone XS and the XR, will be compatible with iOS 26. So only a few devices will be dropped, which is to be expected. I mean, not all hardware can run the latest software forever, but it's not as bad as what I thought it would be. Only the XS, XS Max, and the XR will be dropping support, which I don't think is necessarily a big deal, since I would assume most people would already have at least an iPhone 12 or higher. So I wouldn't expect this to affect a large amount of people. So if you have an iPhone XS, XS Max, or an iPhone XR, the very few of you that still use one, sorry, you're out of luck. So those are the devices that will support either macOS 26 or iOS 26. Now, I know a lot of you guys might be asking, hey, Axiom, where's iPadOS 26? Now, I forgot to talk about iPadOS 26 in that what will iOS 19 look like video, but I figured, iOS 19, iPadOS 19, or iPadOS 26, iOS 26, they're pretty much effectively the same thing anyway, so I might as well, group them together, because they're just, essentially the same operating system. They just go by different names, and they're on different devices. So keep in mind, when I'm talking about iOS 26, I'm also talking about iPadOS 26. I think the same should apply to that previous video as well, since I forgot to mention that disclaimer. But, the design is not the only thing changing in iOS 26. We're also going to be getting new features in it as well, one of which being battery intelligence. Now, if you have an Android phone, you probably already know what this feature is. So when you plug in to charge your phone, if you look at the bottom, it tells you the ETA of how long your phone will be until it's fully charged. This is another feature that I wish was on iOS, and it will be coming in iOS 26. So when you plug in your phone, or when it's on a wireless charger, or it's attached to a MagSafe puck, depending on what method you're using to charge, it will give you the ETA of when it's going to be fully charged. So it might take an hour and 30 minutes until it's fully charged, or 3 hours until it's fully charged. It really depends on what you're using, whether it's plugged in wired, or it's MagSafe, or it's wireless. Because, the speeds are not always the same. But either way, iOS 26 will be able to tell you when your device is fully charged. There's also a lot of other battery management features that are also rumored to come as well, some of which that are AI powered. There's also a bunch of other miscellaneous accessibility features, if you care about those. Game Center is also coming back, so if you remember back in iOS 4, I believe, or OpenFaint, which is an app that was created by the same guys who created Discord, which is basically a similar concept, even though they too didn't have a separate app, Game Center did. But if you're old enough to remember when Game Center used to have its own app, until iOS 10 or iOS 11, I don't remember specifically what version they removed it in, but Game Center back in the day used to have its own app. So instead of launching a game just to be able to access Game Center, you can just simply go into the Game Center app and view your achievements or view your high score and whatnot. At some point, they removed the app, and they basically resorted into implementing it into the games itself. so there's no longer an app for Game Center. Now, in iOS 26, that Game Center app, or whatever gaming app that they use now, will be making a comeback, with also additional features coming along the way. So if you're a fan of Game Center, I know some of you still are, this is something that I assume you should be excited for. So those are just some of the few features. Of course, there's also going to be some Apple Intelligence improvements, as well as some additional Apple Intelligence features, but, you know, who the fuck even cares about that anymore? They've already added ChatGPT support last year. Now they're going to be adding Google's Gemini support to Apple Intelligence in iOS 26. Unfortunately, and at the same time, no surprise, the enhanced Siri 2.0 will not be coming in iOS 26 this year, or next year, or in iOS 28, or ever. Now, I've said this in my iPhone 16e video. I've also mentioned it in my last video about iOS 26, but my experience with Apple Intelligence hasn't been great. In fact, Apple Intelligence has been all but fucking pathetic. I mean, the fact that they have to rely on ChatGPT and now Google Gemini just shows how so far behind Apple is in terms of its AI development. Apple Intelligence has to be one of the biggest flops that at least I have seen. Image Playground has issues. A lot of features don't work properly. Genmoji is extraordinarily buggy. It is wildly inaccurate. The image cleanup feature is really just Adobe's content aware, so it's not really true AI. Oh, and that one feature that I talked about earlier, you know, the more personalized Siri, which is dubbed Siri 2.0, it's not ready yet. And in fact, it's been delayed heavily, to the point where Apple had to pull a commercial demoing this feature, which has the chick from that shitty Last of Us show and Alistair's voice actor. And, you know, I'm sorry, this is nothing against you personally, Amir. It's just that this commercial was horrible. Only the fact that Amir was in it made that commercial good.
Trust us with your safety.
And it demos what this personalized Siri 2.0 feature does. And the feature's not ready yet. It is not going to be released anytime soon. It's been delayed. And that's just what makes this whole thing even worse. It just goes to show you how lopsided the launch of Apple Intelligence is. So yes, there will be Apple Intelligence features in there. I'm probably not gonna bother talking about it because, like I keep saying, Apple Intelligence fucking sucks. So whatever new Apple Intelligence feature they got in store and that they are announcing at that event that will be on iOS 26 and more than likely on the other operating system, so macOS 26, watchOS 26, etc., I probably won't bother. It's probably going to be a buggy mess once it launches. Or maybe it won't be ready on time. Who the fuck even knows? Anyways, Apple Intelligence frustration out of the way, that's pretty much all you need to know about the new operating systems. The big thing, of course, is that Glassy redesign that we will be getting, but there will be some minor features that we will see along the way. But again, those are some of the ones that we heard in rumors. There might be a few that I am missing. There might be others that I'm not fully aware of. Again, we'll have to wait and see whether or not those are true, whether the leaks and rumors are true. WWDC is tomorrow as of recording, so we'll find out then. So if you're watching this on WWDC, hopefully this new Glassy design turns out to be a lot better than what we expected. Let me know in the comments if I've missed anything in this video, which I'm fully aware I probably did. Also, tell me what you guys expect to see in iOS 26 or macOS 26 or whatever operating system you are excited for. What is your personal wish list? What do you think of the rumored new design? Are you gonna love it? Are you gonna hate it? What other improvements do you want to see? Do you prefer circle icons or do you prefer squircle icons? Anyways, love passing the conversation right down to you at the end of every video. So make sure you guys let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And with that being said, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button down below. And if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the little bell for notifications. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias. Links are in the description down below as always. Share this video around with your friends, families, boyfriends, girlfriends, enemies, whomever. Definitely helps me out a lot, helps the video grow, and helps grow the channel if you were to share this video with whomever you know. WWDC, again, we're on our way to the Worldwide Developers Conference. I'm thinking about streaming it, but I probably won't. I'll just live post on X. Again, another reason why you should follow me there, at AXY0M. I've already done it a number of times. You probably already get it by now. Follow me there for updates, as well as memes, thoughts, and other miscellaneous material there. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications because, as always, same reason why you follow me on X. I talk about everything here. I'm your news guy. That's just what I do, So as always, like, subscribe, ring notifications, and until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, talk soon. You're awesome.